We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingsego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Hey, yay, hey, yay. We all gathered here to discuss the Golden Boy versus Vergil Ortiz saga as it continues in the court of law. In this video, I gotta break down the newest update. You gotta watch to the end. There's a lot going on, and let's be real, it's getting crazy. So for the fans wondering, oh, will Vergil Ortiz, is he gonna fight Boots? I'm waiting for the fight. Stay tuned. And we gonna discuss. Oh, I love my job. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I don't even know where to begin with this one. The haters can't stand it. So, the situation is this. Vergil is suing his promoter, Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya. I do believe he makes a strong case to be. That is happening. They were trying to get the fight done with Boots without longtime promoter Oscar De La Hoya, right? Herein lies the problem. Golden Boy is like, I can't go for that. No, no, can't do. You know what I mean? And Golden Boy is like, hold up, pump your brakes. Now, I've been following this case for you guys, and it definitely heated up, which is why we're doing this update. Now, there's a lot of information that I need to go over. Stay tuned to the end of the video so you know what the is going on. Because this is going to be, it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a doozy. A lot going on. Boom. So right here you see Boxingscene. They got a brand new article with Golden Boy responding to Vergil Ortiz and his team as it pertains to this whole TRO restraining order, which I've already talked about in my past videos. Golden Boy calls for a court to, quote, preserve the status quo pending arbitration with Vergil Ortiz. And we're going to find out exactly what it means. I know what it means, but you're going to find out what that means. So this article was published, and I will link to it in the description, by Jake Donovan. The timing of Matchroom Boxing's long-term extension with DAZN made headlines. It also provided an example for Golden Boy Promotions in his ongoing legal battle with their fighter, Vergil Ortiz. Barely 24 hours after Ortiz filed a motion of opposition to Golden Boy Promotions and their TRO, his estranged promoter followed suit, because I told you in my last video they had to respond in one business day. So now Golden Boy has done that with his very own reply in support of an emergency motion They did it by the deadline imposed by the court. It is a 10-page complaint and separate declarations obtained and reviewed by Boxingscene. I also have a copy of it for the record. Golden Boy pointed out to numerous examples where Vergil, his own filing, quote, admits that he has been engaged in unauthorized negotiations with third parties behind Golden Boy's back. While the boxer has an active lawsuit against the promoter for alleged breach of contract and interference with economic advantage, right? Pay attention. This part. Ortiz claims that but for the court issuing the restraining order the day before Valentine's Day, he already would have entered a 3-bout agreement with Eddie Hearn and Rematch Room Boxing that included an April 18th fight with Jaron Boots Ennis or a separate 3-fight deal with an unspecified promoter. This is going directly off of Vergil Ortiz's rebuttal to the TRO, which I've already went over. Check that video. In the balance amidst of the courtroom drama is a targeted bout between Boots and Vergil. Terrific matchup, blah, blah, blah. Ortiz and Boots are secondary titleists at 54. We can skip past all that because I know you guys want to hear. Because my thing is this. Let's be real. I definitely don't beat around the bush. Who cares about selling the fight and talking about, oh, Boots does this and Vergil, and talking about how they match up? I don't really care how they match up if we don't get a matchup. You know what I mean? Then it really don't even matter. It don't even matter for real, for real. So I don't even want to talk about how the fight will look if we don't get a fight. Then, because then it's just a moot point. So as you could tell, this is an extremely volatile situation. And depending on what happens today within the courts could very well determine what happens with the unannounced Vergil Ortiz Boots fight. So that's why I'm telling y'all got to pay attention delivering everything that's going on. Let's keep going. So the judge, they have an actual hearing. They have an actual hearing. And so let's keep going. Golden Boy was since granted 2 separate one-off dates from DAZN. We already went over this. Why a deal wasn't reached prior to the start of this year is now a matter for the court. Among the supporting documents in Ortiz's filing, Ed McCarthy of DAZN, right? In a sworn statement under penalty of perjury, McCarthy alleged that, quote, DAZN remains open to seeking an agreement to enter a long-term distribution deal with Golden Boy on commercially reasonable terms, whether or not Golden Boy has Vergil Ortiz under contract. But I've already explained to you, the problem is if he don't have Vergil Ortiz, that's like one of his main chess pieces. So, yeah, they might offer him a deal, but I mean, if you have a team and you have Michael Jordan on the team or not on the team, I'm pretty sure that makes a difference when talking about the valuation of the team. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that's a little bit of trickery from DAZN. They're like, hey, we're still willing to work with Golden Boy, so to speak. Yeah, you're still willing to work with him, but at the end of the day, you work with him, and then what if he don't have the fight with Boots on the platform? Are you really going to give Oscar De La Hoya the rightful money that he feels his company is owed? I highly doubt it, right? So for me, it sounds a bit sketch, but we'll keep going. Both statements were made while confirming Golden Boy's claim DAZN was with the promotional company since late 2025. Instead, Golden Boy flipped it and used this claim as their leading argument. So they took Vergil Ortiz's team's reply and pretty much used it against him. Tellingly, however, Vergil Ortiz does not quote Section 10, the critical provision of the promotional agreement that purportedly gave him the right to terminate the contract, right? He's saying that, nah, you got to actually read what it says. Pay attention. The reason for the glaring omission is clear. Contrary to Ortiz's assertions, Section 10 does not grant Vergil Ortiz, quote, the right to withdraw from the promotional agreement if Golden Boy's contract with DAZN was terminated or expired. But instead, Section 10 only allows Ortiz to terminate the promotional agreement with Golden Boy if Golden Boy's distribution relationship with DAZN terminates, providing in relevant part as follows. So Golden Boy is basically saying you jumped the gun while you're trying to act like you have a way out and a loophole. That's not how it's explicitly written. It says promoter's distribution relationship with DAZN is a material incentive for boxer to enter into this agreement. This is from Vergil's actual contract. In the event that promoter's distribution relationship with DAZN terminates for any reason and promoter does not have an agreement in principle in place for an exclusive distribution relationship with an alternative broadcaster, then the boxer shall have the right to terminate his agreement. So Oscar and his side, they're arguing the way it's written doesn't give you free range to bounce and you're not a free agent. We're still in talks and negotiations. And this is where Golden Boy and his legal team started to cook. Quote, Golden Boy raised the key distinction between termination of a, quote, relationship and a termination of a contract in its motion. But Ortiz continues to ignore this distinction and the actual language of Section 10 by incorrectly insisting that he may terminate the promotional agreement simply because the most recent long-term contract between DAZN and Golden Boy expired. Ortiz continued to conflate the terms relationship and contract because he knows that Golden Boy's relationship with DAZN has not terminated, and thus he has no grounds for termination of his promotional contract. In layman's terms, De La Hoya and Golden Boy are saying the way it's written, you're trying to conflate and act like you got a get out of jail free card and you're free to bounce from Golden Boy because December 31st is when Golden Boy's contract ran out. But we all know Golden Boy is still in communication with DAZN trying to renew. So how did you jump the gun and say, hey, you don't have a actual contract with DAZN and we don't see eye to eye right now, so we're out? That is what is being argued now. Furthermore, Golden Boy contends that current and ongoing talks with DAZN and its agreed upon one-off fight dates constitutes a continued distribution relationship. So Golden Boy out here kind of cooking. They like, yo, proof that we're working on it is that we did these one-off shows, which Vergil Ortiz, that's why you got to watch that part of the video I did. Vergil Ortiz's team admitted it. So everything that they admitted in their response to the TRO, Golden Boy's kind of flipping it and using it on them like battle rap. When somebody says something in their round and then you take it and you rebuttal it in your round and you flip their whole punchline or what they just said. That's kind of what Golden Boy's doing here. Should a judge agree with that logic, it would put Ortiz and MIRIGAN at risk for a contract breach for freely negotiating with other promoters. So if Golden Boy wins, Vergil and Rick MIRIGAN, the manager, overstepped their boundaries and did too much by orchestrating their own deal when, if the judge agrees, he's still contracted through Golden Boy. Among the willing suitors, Matchroom, who offered the 3-fight deal, the Boots fight, worth at least $12 million. I already talked about it. Good, up to $20 million. Furthermore, Golden Boy continued to cite its claims of irreparable harm should the court rule to dissolve the restraining order. Such a ruling would then allow Vergil Ortiz to proceed with his career on his terms and without Golden Boy along for the ride. Ortiz never sought permission from Golden Boy to directly negotiate with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom or the other unnamed promoter referenced in their opposition. Read the complaint. More importantly, at no time during negotiations with Golden Boy for the Boots fight did Matchroom ever suggest that it wanted to negotiate directly with Ortiz's manager, Rick MIRIGAN. So how did this come where he's like almost like the lead promoter orchestrating the deal by himself with Eddie Hearn? Certainly, Golden Boy never allowed Ortiz's representatives to directly negotiate any bouts without Golden Boy. The complaint also outright dismissed any claim that Golden Boy has fallen out of favor with Turki Al-Sheikh in Riyadh season, citing its involvement with Saturday's DAZN pay-per-view, the Ryan Garcia fight, right? And that's a pretty stacked card. The most telling part of current events in the view of Golden Boy was DAZN's Ed McCarthy's full role within the industry. Now, we finally got here. We made it. I'm glad y'all stuck around because we here now. I saved the best for the last. This part, Golden Boy really got off. I give credit where credit's due. Y'all can say whatever y'all want. Remember in my last video where I was talking about DAZN's McCarthy and his involvement? Among the supporting document from Vergil Ortiz's team, McCarthy was among 6 names listed as a Matchroom manager or member. Hold on. If you recall my last video where I discussed this, I brought up Ed McCarthy. And remember, I told you, I pulled up his LinkedIn and I was like, he's a British CEO with DAZN. Eddie Hearn's a British promoter and DAZN's a British broadcasting company, and they're trying to cut De La Hoya out, and looks like they're trying to get their own thing going. And it looks like the British CEO is more so looking after the British promoter. Remember I said that. Now we find out some explicit details per De La Hoya and Golden Boy's rebuttal. Ed McCarthy's declaration regarding DAZN's intention is misleading and incomplete. Watch this. This is the best part. Golden Boy insisted. In his declaration, McCarthy fails to disclose that he is also a manager and or a member of Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, the promoter with whom Ortiz has been negotiating a replacement 3-bout deal. So he's withholding information. Hey, this might be boom shakalaka. This might be a nail in the coffin. I ain't no judge, I ain't no lawyer, but this might be it. This might be that, baby. Moreover, it says moreover, early Wednesday, Matchroom and DAZN announced a new 5-year exclusive broadcast contract, which means if Matchroom signs Vergil Ortiz, DAZN will receive the benefit of the 3-bout agreement with Ortiz. Accordingly, McCarthy and DAZN have a clear interest in the court dissolving the Golden Boy TRO, temporary restraining order, so that Vergil Ortiz may sign a new agreement with Eddie Hearn's rematch room. A hearing is scheduled on Friday in the Las Vegas District Court, all parties required to appear for the hearing and oral argument per the ruling or whatever. Hey, it's kind of treacherous around these parts. I try to tell you, keep your eyes on the prize because the ride gets tricky. You got some people that say in real time they're your enemies, but they eyes on your money. Bro, I told you, this whole situation looks terrible. I've already went over. I got to be the best in the business and it's not even close. Here's the issue. Here's the issue I have. For one, this is a lot of movement and legalese and lawsuits and all types of stuff for a fight like this. This ain't Mayweather or Pacquiao. It is not the biggest fight in boxing. Hardcore boxing fans will like it. I get that. That's cool. But it ain't like this monumental monstrosity of a fight that everybody's getting breaded if the fight happens. So now you start looking at the ulterior motives, and a lot of the stuff that I suggested, you're now seeing, right? Remember when Boxingsego said, hey, this CEO that's willing to testify to get Boots and Jaron, Ennis, and Vergil Ortiz over the line and pretty much help aid in that process. He's a British DAZN member, CEO. Eddie Hearn just signed a new deal, a 5-year deal or whatever with DAZN, and he's British. And then the odd man out is De La Hoya, who pretty much nurtured Vergil Ortiz's career. And the reason we know Vergil Ortiz is from Golden Boy cards, and now they're trying to cut him out of the deal entirely. And a lot of people pick sides and they went against Golden Boy, and they're like, oh man, who cares? Because a lot of you guys are emotional. So you're more worried about merely the fight happening, and you don't care who gets stepped on in order to make the fight happen. But for me, I looked at the information. Now, the rest of this video, because I've already went over the legalese and what was filed. The rest of this video is me to the face. These are my personal opinions, right? But I told you from the beginning, it looked really fishy. Vergil Ortiz and Oscar, didn't see eye to eye. And then the manager in his ear and his attorney, who's Canelo's attorney too, talking about, oh, you got to weigh out the contract. Da. Remember, Canelo got out of his contract. And they're trying to bounce on Golden Boy. And then now we find out that the dude who was willing to testify to try to dissolve this restraining order, that an emergency temporary restraining order that Golden Boy put into effect so they don't get cut out of their own fighters deal while this is going on, right? Which is a smart move. Now we find out that he has ties to Matchroom. I don't know. Golden Boy, I think they cooked. To be honest, I think they cooked, because look at how foul that looks. Tell me I'm lying. Look how foul that looks if De La Hoya brought Vergil Ortiz all these other fights and attention, and now they're trying to X him out the deal and then get him to sign to Eddie Hearn, who literally has done nothing for Vergil Ortiz to this point and was actively picking against Vergil Ortiz because he had boots. Right? So you didn't even want Vergil Ortiz to do well, because at that point you only had Jaron Ennis. So you were talking about Eddie Hearn. Look at how foul the game is. Eddie Hearn was talking about how Jaron Ennis will beat him. So Eddie Hearn actively went from being on Boots' side and saying Boots is going to whoop you, Vergil going to lose, to now trying to sign Vergil Ortiz. and you got everybody trying to dogpile Golden Boy and make sure it happens. And then, coincidentally, Eddie Hearn signed a new 5-year deal, and he signed a 5-year deal with DAZN. So yeah, now you can see the deck is being stacked against Golden Boy, because now they're looking at Eddie Hearn like, you're giving us the big fights. If you can get this done, this is a fight we would like on our platform, right? A fight we would like on our platform, and we don't really need Golden Boy. We just want to fight. So they don't care if they are cutthroat about it, apparently, and they don't care if Golden Boy built Vergil up, and then now the biggest fight of Vergil Ortiz's career would be the Boots fight, and he gets cut out. Golden Boy gets cut out and don't get paid off of it. So, in my opinion, De La Hoya and them are doing right by trying to fight this, because I would be absolutely livid if me personally, Ego, I put in all this work to help to cultivate and motivate and bring eyes and, ultimately bring Vergil Ortiz exposure, and then now he's trying to flee and bounce. And the other good thing that I did like from Golden Boy's rebuttal is they're like, McCarthy dude with DAZN, the chief executive, right? He failed to disclose that he works with Matchroom in some capacity. So now it looks worse, because he was like, yeah, I'm willing to testify under penalty and perjury that these things are true. And they were in opposition. He was in opposition of the Boots fight being blocked by De La Hoya's TRO. But now it makes sense if you, like, of course you have an ulterior motive. You working with Eddie Hearn directly, got him this new deal, and somehow they're saying you're connected to Matchroom. So yeah, you're looking out for your boy. Like, now that's a conflict of interest. Like, how could we take your word for it? It's like somebody testify, and then you find out the person that was testifying in defense of somebody, they were sleeping together. Okay, that changes things. Before, we thought this girl didn't know this guy and she was just testifying on behalf of a coworker, but then the information dropped that the two were having an extramarital affair. That changes the dynamics of how it was presented if more details become available. So according to Golden Boy, they're like, this dude that was in opposition of our restraining order, McCarthy, has worked with Matchroom, and he failed to disclose that. So to me, that looked faulty. And now I can see why you want this deal to go through with Eddie Hearn. He's British, you're British. You just signed Eddie Hearn to a 5-year deal. You're on board with the DAZN company, and you just want a big fight. And then you don't care if De La Hoya and Golden Boy get stepped on in the process. You're just like, it looked like you're just like, oh, well, you want to make an omelet, you got to crack some eggs. So to be honest, DAZN, if this is true, what Golden Boy is alleging, they look kind of faulty. And then back to Vergil Ortiz, from what I'm reading and understanding about this lawsuit and both sides of it, it looks like you jumped the gun. Like, it's clearly not a situation that is fully 100% resolved and transparent of what should be going on, and yet you're engaging with reportedly Zuffa Boxing, Matchroom Boxing, Canelo Promotions to make a whole separate fight whilst leaving your old promoter in the dust. You know what I mean? How does that not look, rather suspicious? How does that not look like kind of weird, if you will, that you think it's murky at best what your position is? You felt you found a loophole where you're like, oh, De La Hoya hasn't renewed with DAZN. Therefore, we have full carte blanche to terminate our contract. But then De La Hoya is arguing that's not what Section 10 says. Section 10 is actually saying if our relationship with DAZN changes, right? So it says they are incorrectly insisting that he can terminate his contract because the long-term contract changed with DAZN. But Golden Boy is smartly arguing, hey, we're doing one-off shows, we're still in negotiations, and this has been validated in their opposition paperwork with McCarthy saying, hey, we'll still give Golden Boy a deal with or without Vergil Ortiz. This is why in the court of law, talking less benefits you. Because if Ed McCarthy truly wanted to get this fight done and he wanted the TRO to get dissolved, they might have crossed you up. I think this is a solid argument from Golden Boy. One, you didn't declare and disclose that apparently you work with Matchroom directly as some kind of member. So yeah, that's a conflict of interest. Strike two is in your paperwork where you were saying that you are opposed to Golden Boy blocking the fight with the TRO. You literally are quoted under penalty and perjury. You said, DAZN remains open to seeking another and agree to enter a long-term distribution agreement with Golden Boy on commercially reasonable terms, whether or not Golden Boy has Vergil Ortiz under contract. So the language that De La Hoya and Golden Boy are arguing, they're like, yo, peep this. These guys have admitted that we're trying to work on a new deal. So how did Vergil Ortiz feel like, hey, this is my entry to escape, and now I'm in the clear to leave Golden Boy? So it's going to really be up to a judge and what the judge has to say as far as how she interprets this contract, right? But I think from what I'm reading, Golden Boy made a very valid and sound argument, right? And you have to understand the way things are written. Oftentimes they are written loosely to the point where it can be up for interpretation, and it gives the company a bit more wiggle room in the event that something like this happens. Like, for example, if Disney has some kind of contract, or YouTube, they're going to write it so loosely that at the end of the day, YouTube, if they want you off their platform, they have the power to get you off their platform. Trust me. That's how that works. YouTube is, they are no fools. And if they oppose to something you're posting, they could get you off the platform. And their terms of service and terms of agreement is written in such a way where, again, if they don't want you, if they want to kick you, they could kick you. And most companies are like that. Twitch, Kick. If they don't want, if a streamer do too much and is bad for business, they can punch you. They can get you up out of here. I promise you that. So it all depends on how the judge perceives this as written in Vergil's contract. But it's going to look bad if the judge determines that Vergil and Rick Marinigan jumped the gun and they didn't have no right to exit the contract and start negotiating. It's going to look really bad, because this is what happens when everybody want to be a boss, and then, you know, oh, I can do that. All right, we're going to see. So that's all I got. We'll see. It really falls on the judge and how they interpret it. But De La Hoya did respond. Golden Boy responded within the deadline. And later today, we're going to find out more, and I'll keep you guys updated. So to conclude, whatever happens, make sure you come back to my channel, because I'm into this, because I'm curious how it all plays out. And who the court side with. You know, De La Hoya is like, our relationship with DAZN didn't change, and that's what's written in his contract. If our relationship changes with DAZN, and then we don't have a new broadcast deal, then he's a free agent. But that's not the case. We're doing one-off fights. We're still doing fights. We got the Ryan Garcia Barrios fight, and we're in negotiations. We just haven't actually put pen to pad and made it official and actually come to terms. But we're working on it. And now Golden Boy's like, please allow this to play out and don't allow him to fight Boots, because that will cause irreparable damage to Golden Boy if you allow them to circumvent us, cut us out the deal, everybody else get paid but Golden Boy, and we lose a fighter. So very interesting times. This is why, you know, you got content creators, a lot of low quality content. You got people with platforms and content creators, and they were talking about the fight was done and it's getting announced and all that. You never seen that from me. And here's why. This is boxing, people. It's a business. I don't care how mad people get at the realities of this, but the reality is the reality. This stuff got to get cleared up before we get any fight. That's why I didn't clickbait y'all. I didn't make no video talking about, oh, the fight's going to be a banger and give a bunch of fight predictions, because none of that matters if they don't fight. Why do I need to give y'all a fight prediction and then the fight get cooked in the courtroom? Because that is definitely on the table as a possibility. But who knows? Maybe the judge sides with Vergil Ortiz. I personally think Golden Boy has a very sound argument. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I don't have access to Vergil Ortiz's actual contract, but the points that they brought up from both sides, it looked kind of sketch. And Golden Boy, it looks like they are getting the raw deal. DAZN just willing to step on Golden Boy to get whatever they want, and Rick MIRIGAN trying to get, you know, a boost. Like, hey, we didn't even need Golden Boy. I got my fighter a 3-fight deal with 20 million and 12 million. So he wants to shine from that, but we'll see. We'll see what the judge decides. For more boxing news, subscribe. We Unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate. So ultimately,